You mess up my hair.
I can't mess up that. Like, what hair? At least you're not balding. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Rowdy.com Victory. Talking NASCAR, talking the STP 400 from Kansas with my friend Buzz Cutler.
What
Hello.
does STP stand for?
The Racer's Edge.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
STP is the Racer's Edge. My name is Bass Masters. Issue number 1.
Issue number 1. Look, Penske was the class of the field. Kurt Busch was the strongest car all day. Brad Keselowski ended up winning the race. Has Penske done the unthinkable and actually turned their performance, their season around?
We were a legitimate top 5 car. We needed to get the clean air to be a car that could win the race. And I quite honestly felt like Kurt and I were pretty equal. It's just a matter of being up front and having the right track position. But, like I said, Kurt had him covered on speed, we had him covered on strategy, and at the end, a Penske car was going to win, and that's just what happened.
Well, they've certainly taken a step in the right direction. Don't forget, Brad Keselowski won the pole at Charlotte a couple weeks ago. Then Kurt won the pole for this race and was the dominant car. Keselowski did luck into the victory a little bit, although it wasn't pure luck. It was a strategy call and executing it by the driver. But look, here's the thing. They let that engineer go. And Steve Addington said very clearly after the race, we're going back to using our driver's ass. That's a direct quote, driver's ass.
We actually have that quote.
When we set up the race car.
Exactly.
And so I think they're headed back in the right direction. You got to balance the new school engineering-driven racing with the old school seat of the pants. And finding that balance is a hard thing for race teams. So maybe they're headed back in that direction.
I think it's a hard thing at Penske, because I think the captain, being the businessman, always sort of looking at the big picture, having his eyes on the prize, wanting to... I mean, we've been to the Garage Mahal. It's an amazing facility. It's probably very alluring to use technology in order to get the job done. And maybe there is a cultural dichotomy between Kurt Busch and Roger Penske that they're starting to work their way through. And maybe, dismissing the team engineer was part and parcel of that, or a manifestation of that. So,
and you also know they've been working on things in the front end of the race car. That's the problem they've been having, not really being able to get the car to turn. So you have to free it up so much to get it to turn that you're loose when you get on the gas, things like that. You got to have the basic setup right. And so knowing what the problem is and feeling confident about it and working on it, eventually you get good people, you get to a solution.
And Penske,
I'm not saying they're there yet,
No.
but I think Pocono is going to be a sign because Kurt Busch is very good at Pocono.
We've seen him dominate that race. Penske still is at the disadvantage of only having 2 cars in the entire series under the Dodge banner, and that disadvantage is always going to be there. So will they ever be at the level of a Hendrick or a Gibbs or a Roush? I'm not sure.
It's
I'm
enough
not sure
to
that
make
they
you
will, but I think for now signs are good.
And it's enough to make you think if they give Kurt Busch a car like that every week, he's going to make the chase, whereas 3 weeks ago it was like a foregone conclusion. There's no way the guy can hang in there.
All right, let's move on to issue number 2. 2 strong runs in a row by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Last week at the Coke 600, fuel mileage was not his friend. This week at the STP 400, fuel mileage was his friend, but you got to like what you're seeing out of that 88 team.
I think we saw lucky and good. Okay, because he did pass a bunch of race cars. More green flag passes for Dale Earnhardt Jr. yesterday than any other driver. Now, he passed a lot of cars from back in the pack. He didn't make as many quality passes up in the top 15 as some guys, but he passed a lot of race cars. On the other hand, he wasn't going to finish second with the car he had. But by spinning out, he gave himself the opportunity to come in and get on the right fuel strategy. That just means you're living right. That's just you're living right, baby.
It doesn't mean you're living right. What it means is they took a problem, they took a mistake, and they created opportunity out of that mistake. And that is the sign of a really good organization and a really good race team.
And we finally got right outside that top 10 and was looking good for the last 100 laps. And I went to searching for some more speed and busted my butt up there in a 3 and 4 and cost us all the spots we worked for all day. But it also gave Steve the chance to play the strategy game. And
I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. took advantage of that and got everything he could out of the situation he was giving, and he passed a ton of race cars. So I say he was lucky and he was good.
It wasn't a tough call, but it would have been very easily for Junior to get all pissed off and frustrated that he screwed up.
Oh, he doesn't do that anymore,
and he spun out.
He doesn't do that anymore.
Exactly.
And Steve Letarte said after the race also, hey, you know what, if we'd run out, everyone would have been disappointed, but everyone still would have had full faith and confidence in me to make that call.
All right, issue number 3, another guy we thought was dead in the water who seems to have been turned around, who seems to be getting things back in the right direction, is Denny Hamlin. In the past 5 races, he's got 4 top 10s.
Yeah. Here's another guy that you look at, Pocono, as a real measuring stick for how far they've come. I don't know that they're back to where they were last year, where they were really capable of going out anywhere and winning races. And Denny did finish 3rd on fuel mileage. But keep this in mind. Denny Hamlin came in to get on that fuel mileage strategy. He gave up 3rd on the racetrack. Now, that was a gutsy call because track position was tough out there. I mean, you passing cars was tough at Kansas. So to give up 3rd to come in and get on a fuel mileage strategy, that was a gutsy call by Mike Ford.
Yeah.
And Denny it worked out great. So I think, Pocono, Denny Hamlin, watch out.
Look, I agree with you that Denny Hamlin is not at 2010 form, but Denny Hamlin doesn't need to be at 2010 form yet.
Not yet.
Now, what Denny Hamlin needs to do is get into the top 10, and he's on the verge of doing that.
1 point.
When we thought he was dead in the water a few weeks ago and was going to be nowhere near the chase, now he's on the verge of being in the top 10. He's got time, once he gets in the top 10, to continue to recapture 2010. I think it's one step at a time, and I think they're taking the right steps and headed in the right direction. You got to feel pretty good about the 11 team right now.
Well, we're 13 races down, which means we have 13 races to go. So we're only halfway through. Now, you put yourself in a big hole, you make it tough because you eliminate that margin for error.
But he's digging himself out of that hole.
Right. He's digging himself out. Another bad race, and it may be a struggle all the way to the end, but he can certainly make it. And I think Pocono, again, Denny Hamlin v. Kurt Busch at Pocono wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Then that would be a great race. I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
All
a
right.
little Carl Edwards, a little Greg Biffle. Who knows?
Just a
Who
little.
knows?
Just a little. Just a smidgen.
All right, that has been your route.
Skosh.
A skosh?
A skosh.
That has been your Rowdy.com Big 3 for today. My name is Bassmasters. That's Buzz Cutler. Do join us at Rowdy. We're talking racing all the time. Got a great podcast today coming up with when we will do a video, ladies and gentlemen, on the incident between Kyle Busch and Richard Childress.
What incident? I've not heard of any.
This incident!
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.